Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green, and this is Wise Women Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on what movie or TV show character are you. So I would love to nail this down to an actual character that you'll either know or can Google. With that said, I don't have an infinite database of characters in my head. So as best as I can, I will nail it down to an archetype or a kind of person or a kind of character. And at best, I will be able to nail it down or pin it down to a particular movie or TV show character that you can look up if you don't already know them. This is a fun one. I no doubt know it will be meaningful as well. So I encourage you to stick around if you find you enjoy it. Of course, check out all the links below. And I think that's about it today. So from here, I will place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from. As always, you are choosing from left to right. All right, card pile 1, what movie or TV show character are you? So right off the bat, I get the kind of vibe that you could be that kind of character that we could say is in high school, but you don't have to be in high school clearly, right? We're just connecting with a certain kind of character. But this feels like someone who is creative or someone who is athletic, someone who is well known for their gifts, their talents, their skills, and yet someone who I feel like struggles with some self-doubt. So this could go the other way around, where maybe you are sort of too puffed up or on the other extreme of being arrogant, but that's not what I'm feeling. The reason I share that is because we do have a Leo card here and we have a Pride card here. And so that would make you assume it could be the other way around. But the energy that I'm feeling is someone who is relatively self-doubting, who like puffs up their chest in front of everybody else and is like the hottest dancer in the group, and yet still questions themselves behind the scenes, like scopes things out and wonders, thinks about other people, you know, am I better than them? Are they better than me? My point of all of that doesn't actually have to take that exact form, right? Apply it to your situation, but someone who's out there loud and proud, likely creative, likely talented, likely either athletic or intelligent or has some kind of unique talent, gift, genius, or skill set, but still questions themselves behind the scenes and doesn't fully trust in themselves or doesn't fully see themselves or their own power. Very much kind of gives you that high school flavor of someone who, again, is in your face and like the most popular girl, the most popular guy. Like we all can kind of familiarize ourselves with those kinds of shows. We'll see if we can nail it down to a particular character. So this kind of feels like the Kelly Kapowski or the Zach Morris, right? This sort of feels like the Nate and the Maddie from Euphoria. Well, not specifically, right? Well, right now we're just talking about that popularity, but then those insecurities on the other side, right? You think it all looks good from the front view. Everything looks phenomenal, talented, all the things we might say about that kind of person, and yet they still struggle with insecurities behind the scenes. I think we tend to see that, right? In shows and movies, we see that no matter what, even with a brave face or an attractive one, or with all the appeal and allure and talent in the world, most people will go home to their insecurities. So I do feel like someone, though, who is highly creative or highly talented or highly skilled in one way or another, and may not always recognize that, may not always see it, may question themselves at home, may question themselves when they go to bed at night and sit with imposter syndrome. This doesn't mean that this is a dominant personality trait, by the way. That's not what I'm feeling. But when we're talking about nailing you down to a movie character or a TV show character, it has to get pretty hyper specific, because there really only are a small amount, like subset of personalities and characters we put on screen. And that's just how we do it. It's always like this kind of person or that kind of person, right? The A actor, the B actor, like the main actor or the side. So you would definitely be one of those ones, a main actor or a main actress in some kind of film, in some kind of show, but you'd be playing that character or you'd be acting out that character, right? You most represent or most represented by that kind of character who is in your face and who seems really popular or at least well-known or renowned, who has a great talent, skill set, genius, but again, is still relatively insecure. Yeah, someone who questions themselves, isn't entirely sure of themselves, and can get pretty down and out about yourself. So I just sense a lot of self-doubt. Again, this doesn't feel though, even though I sense a lot of self-doubt in this particular aspect, because we're speaking to like nailing you down to a character, I don't feel like this is your dominant personality trait. It's sort of like your shadow trait. For as popular as you are, you have this shadow of doubt, right? For as skilled and talented and genius as you are, you have the shadow trait, right? So any light has an equal amount of dark, and any dark has an equal amount of light. Two sides to a coin, right? There isn't just one side, there's both sides. So all of that to say that it doesn't mean necessarily anything bad or negative. It just means as much as you shine bright, you might have a similar amount of insecurity behind that. As much as you shine bright, there's as much shadow behind that. Let's see here. I feel like you are someone who either tends to be in relationships or enjoys being in relationships, or is someone that is relatively sought after and who has some kind of appeal to the kind of people or the people that would be attracted to them, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm saying I do get that popular vibe, because this is someone who, again, is creative, talented, genius, but also someone everyone looks at and is like, I want to be them. But little do they know, the people who are looking at this person, that person goes home to questioning themselves as much as the other person does, or maybe more, because they're out there, because they're seen, because they do well for themselves, or because they look good, or because they do well. Everyone assumes that, oh, they must have this big head, or they must be hot-ish or whatever. But in truth, that person's going home to as much shadow as anybody else. And again, maybe more, because, right, the bigger the light, the bigger the shadow. Let's see. I feel like you could be a little bit of a wild thing, just someone who, this could be, it feels like someone who might be the life of the party at times. It doesn't mean that you would always be that way, but it does feel like, again, we're getting kind of the high school jock, high school cheerleader, prom king, prom queen, those sort of stereotypical roles and hats and special labels, because we have someone who's sort of wild out in the town, but at the same time is humanized by their shadow. Let's see what else we want to talk about here. Yeah, I feel like you're relatively balanced in both of these sides. Like, as much as we have these extremes, they weigh each other out. But I do feel like you can come across as someone who's arrogant, or you come across as someone who is at least confident, or you come across as someone who's very likable, lovable, like everybody kind of wants to be you. So you're going to be that kind of, like I said, movie character or TV show character who is well liked, who is admired and respected by their peers, who people want to be or people want to be with. But people don't realize, again, that you have your own set of insecurities and that it's not all that it's made out to be, right? It's not all butterflies and roses. It's no pleasure cruise. So let's see if there's anything else that wants to come here. I mean, this is really supposed to be a short and sweet and fun reading more than anything, but I feel like we'll focus too. I'll mention your greatest strengths and weaknesses here. It seems like some of your greatest strengths and qualities are around your creativity, are around how you express yourself, are around how you channel your passion, how you channel your art, how you channel your creativity. So how you sort of show up in the world, whatever that creative expression is, right? Is that an athlete? Is that a performer? Is that an entertainer? Is that an artist, a creative, influencer? Like, whatever it is, however it is that you show up in the world, that's a strong quality for you. And it's something that a lot of people admire. You also have the potential for a lot of confidence, even fame, but someone who can be well liked and admired and renowned by their peers, known by their peers, someone who a lot of people want to be with or get with, or think that they would want to be with or get with, whether that would actually turn out or not. And then someone, again, who is a little bit, can be like a wild child, really enjoys themselves, can be the life of the party. But again, I sense a shadow on the other side of that might not always be true for you, that you might be quieter or even more introspective or more private than people would expect. And behind closed doors, you might have a little bit, not of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing, where it's so dramatic and two personalities, but sort of, where people would never expect that you're actually not that, right? That it's all that's more of a persona, a presentation of the vulnerable, self-doubting, unknowing, uncertain, even somewhat insecure person on the inside who just happens to be able to put on a really good front and does happen to have a lot of talent, skill, genius, or otherwise some kind of admirable quality or trait or some kind of creative expression. So, and so when I said those are your strengths, I don't really believe in weaknesses. I believe in everything as a strength because it makes us uniquely us. But if we were to talk about sort of stereotypical weaknesses, it would be your insecurity, your self-doubt, you're not knowing of your own power, you're not knowing of your own likability, you're not knowing of how much everyone actually looks up to you, wants to be you, wants to get with you, you're not knowing how truly powerful and worthy that you truly are. So card pile 1, that's your reading. I want to hear from you. Let me know if this lands, if this resonates. I did my best to pick out the kind of popular hero or heroine from the shows that came to mind. But there are a number of them out there, and I think we did really good at least coming up with the archetype, even if it wasn't an actual name of a character. But I want to hear from you. Let me know how this lands. And then, of course, do like, subscribe, press the bell icon, and stay in touch for next time. Thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2. Which TV show or movie character are you? So I feel like you are more of the scorpionic energy so far of the group, someone who's deep, contemplative, private, introspective, solitudinal. You might have been, you're sort of like the person on the show. You're not going to be like the lead character kind of person or personality. You're the person who is deeper and quieter and more reflective and more private, right? You're not going to be putting on a show with a big smile on your face and everything hanging out and at the gym 24/7. You might be someone who's more reading or sitting on the windowsill and having a coffee. You might be someone who's at the coffee shop. But more than anything, I see you as someone who is to themselves, more private, and sort of a side character of a show. Someone who isn't out there in the spotlight, on the stage, like as a performer, as an entertainer. Right, this is more side character or B character or supporting character than it is lead character. Doesn't mean that you are any less than would be a lead character, right? We as a society tend to value certain personality types, tend to be those ones that are sort of arrogant, in your face, loud and proud, blah, right? They're so big, they're so loud, they're so bold, they're so bright. We tend to really value that in Western culture, but that's not how the rest of the world operates. And other cultures around the world, people who are quieter and subdued and deep and introspective are much more valued. My point being is, just because you're a quote unquote side character in the kinds of movies and TV shows we see doesn't mean you're any less than or less important. It just means that in most shows, these kinds of personalities tend to be more of the side characters, the ones that kind of show up here and there, maybe have a dark, witty, cynical sense of humor. I'm not necessarily getting that, but that's very much a possibility, trying to give a shape to this character that we're talking about. Let's see what else. I feel like you are more yourself in comfortable situations, in your comfort zone with the people that you care about. You probably have a small social circle compared to a big one. Is there a quieter, introspective, solitudinal, more deep character on Sex and the City, for an example? I have never seen that show, but I do know there are a couple characters. I'm thinking of the one in Euphoria who, her name's Kat. So there are some characters. I'm going to see who else. This might be Lisa from Saved by the Bell, right? Not quite in your face. Zach Morris, Maddie from Euphoria, or Nate, or those kinds of folks. But this is like that valuable character who's a little bit more deep and introspective. And you can be more yourself. You can be more authentic. You can be truer to yourself and more expressive and in your element and in the zone when you are in your safe places, in your safe circles, with the people that you know, with people that you love. I just feel like you don't prefer the loud spaces, all of the energy, all of the stimulation. I feel like it doesn't feel comfortable for you. You might be more of a sensitive soul. So I am getting, like I said, some of that Scorpio energy. Could have some Cancerian or water element here. But definitely you are someone who's playful, and you are someone who's fun, and you are someone who's humorous. But more than likely, people are going to connect with that in you and catch that in you when you are in your element, in your zone, right? So instead of finding you at a club, for example, or if you are, you're going to be sitting down in the corner on what do they call that? A wallflower. Not saying you've never danced a day in your life, right? These are all going to be relative extremes because we're trying to nail you down to a character. And on shows, everything's pretty radical because they need to nail you down or nail the character down to a particular subset of personality. The more whole they get, no one would be differentiated from each other. All of that to say, you're someone who can have fun. You might have more fun at a slumber party, as an example, than you would at a club. You might be one to go to a movie theater than you are to go to a party. Or if you're at a party, you're going to be someone who's sitting on the couch and having deep conversations with people. You're not going to be out there, dancing on the pole or jumping in the pool naked. And if you did, it would be the quieter or smaller group of people where you felt comfortable to totally be yourself. This actually reminds me of Lexi, I think her name is, even from Euphoria. That's another example. Who else would we have? We're thinking like Ross from Friends, right? So it's that kind of energy of someone who's a little bit more to the side and not in your face, but is a very deep. Someone who tends to be like the better person, the higher person. This is someone who who's that main character from for me to do a reading like this and not be able to pull characters is kind of ridiculous, but I just thought it would be fun. But I do feel like you're someone who's relatively intelligent, if not intuitive, and you can see like the clarity in a situation or the insights in a situation that not everybody else would see. So like you might be the Gretchen Wiener, right, of the group on Mean Girls. I guess even maybe the Lindsay Lohan, but she ends up sort of being the popular girl for a while, and that's why I chose one who's still like a side character, but someone who doesn't prefer to be like all up in your face, someone who can kind of see clearly and more of an observer, more of someone who can kind of see all the things happening. Like, for example, at a party, they're going to be really clear on that kind of conversation that's going on between these people and what's going on over here. I feel like you're someone who's much more intuitive, introspective, and probably even deeper than your peers, or definitely when you were in high school. Let's see what else here. Yeah, you might even be into, this isn't going to be the case for everybody. I do get some energy of the occult, so you might have been someone who is into witchcraft or herbalism or sort of like off the radar alternative things, but this could also be the energy of like the alternative kinds of music, or the people who are just like dressed kind of punk or whatever. I don't know what they call them today. Back in my day, it was like goth, and then it was punk. I don't know what it is anymore. But you might be someone who doesn't like dress in the traditional ways. You might not wear as much color. You might not be like wearing neon 80s wear, you're someone who's going to be a little bit more subdued, more natural tones, earthy tones, someone who's doing like witches or circles or seances in the woods. Not that you have to be. It's not going to be the case for everyone. I would say this is more of a subset of this group, card pile 2, where I've been speaking to pretty general across the whole group. This is maybe 20% of you, 10% of you, 30% of you, 20%, 40%. It's not giving me an exact percent. Sometimes it will. Let's see. What else do we want to say here? I think there's one more message. 1 second. Got it. So you are this person who tends to be more of the wallflower or the observer or the quiet, reflective type, the deeper spiritual, intuitive type, sensitive type, quietly creative type. Someone who is creative is not going to, again, be loud and proud, like showing it off at the school's art gallery, or if you do, it would be like, or a careers art gallery or whatever. It would just be like anonymous hush hush. You're not going to go like announce it and put it on the program. Someone might have to force you for that. I feel like ultimately though, you really do want love, and you're really yearning for love, and that would be something that would just be wonderful for you to experience more love in your life, not just romantically, but even maybe a little bit more attention, even a little bit more of being on the stage or front and center or the lead character, but you just don't know how to be that or don't feel comfortable being that, but you do yearn for that kind of flavor of life, of maybe what it would be like to be in the spotlight. What would it be like to have what they have or be like they are? But at the end of the day, of course, you have to be true to yourself. We have a lot of energy here that's spiritual, that's intuitive, that's ethereal, energy that, again, could even translate into sort of like witchcraft or witchy things, earth connections. You might be someone who ends up being more like self-studied or educated, but through sort of the wisdom of the world or the wisdom of the ages, not necessarily someone who's going to go through traditional education. Doesn't mean that you can't be, but we also have a meditate and contemplation card, which says how deep you are, and someone who does have some fear within themselves about going into larger crowds, larger spaces, lots of stimulation, and prefers something a little bit quieter and closer to home. But ultimately, you do yearn for that kind of love that you think other people experience that are different kinds of personalities. And so that does remind me again of Kat and Euphoria, or Gretchen Wiener from Mean Girls, or Ross, or like that has the energy of someone who's deep and reflective, but also who, and not that I'm getting Ross exactly right, you guys might have to let me know some other characters that meet this description, but he, even though he is like, as a main character in that show, he is a little bit, I feel like quieter. He's not like as bold as say, and ridiculous as like Joey or Chandler. There's a little bit of playfulness here, but not like a major comedic flair, or someone who's being the comedian of the group. That's definitely not what it is. But I feel like you ultimately yearn for love and want that love, or want love like anybody else. And your way of operating the world is a little bit quieter. So we're going to go ahead and finish up by mentioning the primary strengths of your kind of character, or this kind of character, this archetype of a character. Someone who's deep and well self-studied, very much into self-discovery and psychology, getting to know themselves, getting to know others. You might be a people watcher or an observer, someone who keeps to themselves and probably has some artistic expressions or creative endeavors, but likely keeps them to themselves or in quiet places, isn't one to go put themselves on a billboard in New York City, would tend to keep themselves outside or away from the crowd, or if in the crowd, sitting down and having a deep connected conversation, as opposed to doing, playing beer pong or whatever it is that they do. You tell them the parties I've been to. But you do feel playful, you do lighten up, you do get a little bit lighter spirited when you're around your friends, and you're someone who I feel like could crack up for hours and hours and hours and even make other people crack up. I feel like, and ultimately you have that yearning for love. And so I don't believe that there's any such thing as a character weakness necessarily, or a flaw, especially here in your case for card pile 2. You're pretty well-rounded to a degree. With that said, when we say weakness, because, what we tend to value in Western culture on TV shows or movies tends to be like the in-your-face, loud, obnoxious, like arrogant, confident, whatever kind of person. And there's no problem with that either, right? Everybody, it's just that all parts of us are valuable and all parts of us make us who we are. So there really is no true weakness. But if anything was your Achilles heel, for example, or your kryptonite, it would be that yearning for love. But in your case, card pile 2, it's not about disowning that. It's about actually owning that and letting yourself have needs and letting yourself go there and letting yourself be with others and letting yourself be intimate and connected with others and letting yourself be open and wear your heart on your sleeve and share that with others and open up to others and crack open or soften your shell, as opposed to, I feel like you do that to a degree and it can be relatively playful, but maybe aren't as always honest about your needs or desire for love or your yearning for love, because you sort of put that aside, being uncertain or unsure of yourself, as well as maybe being more fearful of intimacy, connection, but especially ones that are more superficial and shallow. You don't have much interest in that. So card pile 2, that was a really fun reading. You'll have to let me know other characters that you feel like match this description. I think that would be fun, and I'd love to get to know those characters, as well as hear your feedback. So if you enjoyed this reading or it resonated, do like, subscribe, press the bell icon, check out all the links below, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 3, what TV show or movie character are you? So of the 3 groups, I feel like you are the one most bound for success, one most bound for some kind of accomplishment or dream, someone with maybe heartier or more substantial aspirations. So you're someone, I feel like, who applies themselves, who is willing to put in the work, do the thing, do what's necessary to create whatever success in the world. I feel like you are someone who, this one was the most multifaceted pile in terms that I wasn't able to find like one single stream or character. But I think as we get through it, hopefully I can identify that to some degree for you, because it felt like a little bit more of a hodgepodge or a mix of attributes as opposed to like a dominant one. And obviously the way that they do characters on TV shows and movies is it's, people are pretty much one or unidimensional for the most part in order just to have a 2-hour movie or like a half-hour episode. There's just no way to explore all the parts of a person. So anyway, when you start to bring up a lot of dimensions of someone, it gets a little bit harder to locate a character. With that said, I feel like you are someone who is willing to put in the work, who might have some, I do get the kind of feel or energy of an intellectual, someone who's like more of like a scientist, or someone who's willing to apply themselves, someone who could be valedictorian or get a lot of awards or credentials or whatever, someone who's known for being book smart, someone who's relatively studious, someone who is kind of like a humanitarian and like goes to work with UNICEF or does some humanitarian aid or supports with some kind of humanitarian crisis at some point. I feel like you're someone who, you have big dreams, and you're someone who can create a lot of change in the world, or at least aspires to. So you're going to be the kind of character that applies themselves. You're going to be the kind of character who's not no nonsense, but someone who is going to accomplish what they set their mind out to, or what they set their mind to. You're going to be someone who's most likely, like you would be the person in the yearbook, in the high school yearbook as an example, who would be most likely to be successful, most likely to become Bill Gates, right? Most likely to become Elon Musk, most likely to become visionary, missionary, most likely to become a globally known, what's that award that scientists get that's like really renowned and a big deal? You guys drop it below if you know what I'm talking about. It's just not coming to me in the moment. But it's like you would get one of those awards, right? You would be known around the world for an accomplishment, though. It doesn't feel like you would just be known for being an entertainer or performer. You would be known for an accomplishment, for a contribution, for something that you've done, worked for, applied yourself toward, invested in yourself toward. I'm trying to think of a TV show or movie character, though. I'm almost wondering if they even have these in these shows. Maybe it's not worth it to them, but this could be sort of like Lexi from Euphoria, maybe even a little bit of Lisa, but a different flavor, because both of those came up in other card piles, but in a different way. But I remember Lisa from Saved by the Bell being relatively studious and applied and was like wanted to be something and make something of herself. But you'll have to share. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, well, this can't be it, but not at all like this, because clearly you're not this, but the movie Psycho, terrible, right? But it has that Capricornian vibe of like, I will accomplish this. I will do what I set my mind to. I am going to be all that I can be. I won't settle for less. But you're someone who, it's interesting because card pile 1 got a lot of qualities and traits that were about like their unique expression, just being themselves. And yours is about putting in the work, putting in the time, giving back, caring about social causes, caring about other people. This feels like activism and social justice and putting your money where your mouth is and putting the work in for a long research study, or applying yourself to become a doctor, applying yourself to become a scientist, something where you actually have to day in and day out follow through with discipline and investment of yourself to really create and be something of yourself. So this could be like Grey's Anatomy, the main character, Meredith Grey, right? I don't know much about her. I actually haven't seen that show. But I do know that clearly she's a doctor and has applied herself to get to that point. Because it's kind of the energy of not settling for less, doing what you came here for. Let's see what else. Yeah, big dreams. Someone who's very powerful in the world and can have a lot of weight or clout. Someone that when they say it goes, and even if you don't feel like this now or didn't always feel like this, it's like you're someone who can, you flip a switch, right? And like everything goes your way. But it's like because you are, like if you guys saw the movie Dope, or the show Dope Sick, the main character, what would I do reading like this for if I cannot for the life of me even tell you guys who these people are? Like, what was I thinking? Rosario Dawson, her character in Dope Sick is a good one, because like this woman is someone who applies herself. It's all about social justice, caring for the cause, doing what she has to do. She brings her work home with her, and is very thoughtful in that regard, and seriously won't stop until she gets what she came there to get or accomplish. Let's see what else. Now there is a message here, someone who struggles though to kind of be self-nourished. So you might be like known as sort of career-driven professional who forgets to take care of themselves, right? Who doesn't remember to properly feed themselves or do exercise, or forgets things at home. Like you might be someone who neglects your own body, your own health, your own well-being, your own home, your own family in pursuit of a bigger dream or in pursuit of helping others. And so may sometimes forget to bring in yourself, to nurture yourself, to care for yourself, your home and family too. There was an energy here, a character that reminded me of, if you've ever seen the movie, this is aging myself here. In Her Shoes is the lawyer character. And in the beginning of the movie, it's a movie with Cameron Diaz as well. And in the beginning of this movie, this character is the main character. She's a lawyer. She's doing really well, but she's working probably like 80 hours a week and has all these clothes that she doesn't even get to wear because she can't really eat healthy. And so she just gets to buy shoes to sort of look at them, but not really enjoy them. But ultimately gives all of that up to be a dog walker and pursue a more emotionally fulfilling life. And so not that you're like that, but I do feel like you're someone who dreams big, who's a visionary, who will apply themselves, who invest themselves, who want to become something, who want to manifest something, who will work really hard for something. I do feel like you can be, like there's more dimensions to you. I feel like there is a wild card, and to me that says that you can be playful, you can have some fun, but the energy I get is sort of like dry fun, if that makes sense. So it reminds me of that character in it was a recent Christmas movie from 2021. It was like Love the Koshers. I don't know, but it was a family. And one of the characters, I think it's like the eldest daughter or something in the movie, she's someone who's sort of like this. And the most fun that she has is like drinking a martini at a bar, you know, with some guys and making jokes. But so it's like dry fun. It's not like you're out like, wow! Not that you can't have that, but it's a little bit more subdued and a little bit more in control and a little bit more witty and fun, as opposed to wild and crazy, taking off your clothes, running down the street naked kind of fun. You take yourself relatively seriously, and you have a reputation to uphold to a degree. But I do feel a lot of heart here, though. I do feel a lot of warmth. I mean, there is definitely humanitarian in here, someone who really wants to make change in the world, and it comes from a good and true and authentic place. This isn't just for show. This isn't just for, you know, it's not just pretense and whatever. This is something that's genuine and true to your heart, and something that's important to you. And it's just a part of who you are. Very curious, inquisitive person, intellectual person, someone who can have some fun, but again, I'm feeling more dry fun. Kind of like, what I mean by dry fun is, you know, there's like playful, sort of childlike humor versus dry humor. You know, you're more like the dry, fun kind of person. You guys might have better characters. Please put them in the comments in terms of who this might match. Someone once told me about a character that this kind of personality was in a show, and I don't remember who it is. Is this even relevant that I'm sharing that with you? You guys, is this a pointless reading? Tell me the God's honest truth. At least you get to know yourself a little bit, right? But I'm going to finish up with the strengths of this character, which we've done with every pile now, as well as weaknesses. I don't actually believe in weaknesses or deficits in character. I believe everything is in its fullness and right where it should be to make us unique individuals. With that said, your strengths are that, you know, your aspirations and ambitions, your willingness to put your money where your mouth is and do the work. Your strengths are being humanitarian and really caring about other people and global causes and movements. Your potential is through the roof. You could probably accomplish anything, but you're going to want to be someone who puts in the work to achieve it. You wouldn't be happy with just a kind of, you wouldn't be happy with like a day job paper pusher type that doesn't make change in the world or a genuine contribution. And you also wouldn't be happy with just like being famous for the sake of being famous. Like, you want to stand for something. You have values. You want it to mean something. Like, meaning means a lot to you. It can't just be, if you were just handed fame for the sake of fame, you wouldn't value it. Like, you want to work for it and you want to achieve it so that you can be proud of it. You have the potential to be a very powerful person in the world. I mean, this card pile is going to be like the Bill Gates, the Elon Musks. It reminds me of that funny character, the tall one who's funny. And you guys, I'm terrible with this, but he's from that show where he's like really smart. He might even be on the spectrum. I'm not sure if that's what they were trying to present or make a part of his character, but he does remind me of that, of being on the spectrum. So relatively neurodivergent, but also typically developing in a sense that he's relatively relatable, and a lot of people like him. Sheldon, I think, is his name. So he's kind of that type, but Sheldon, though, doesn't have as much heart and warmth as this pile does. This pile does have a little more heart and warmth. Isn't all sort of in their head, or mentalist about it, or intellectual about it. Someone who really can relate and connect. So that's your overall strengths. If your weaknesses are anything, it's that you might not always think of yourself or your basic needs and the things you need to do, like around your house. Like, you might forget to put on a sock, even like the simplest of things. You might forget. You might be relatively forgetful because you're not fully present, because you're focused on things out there and the big things you want to accomplish in your big dream. So you might forget to take care of yourself. And so the reminder here is remembering that this whole show you're trying to put on, this world change you're trying to bring about, or whatever cause or whoever you are, whatever you're trying to do, kind of contribution wise, for you to carry all of this and do all this and accomplish all this, it's going to start with you, and it's going to start with taking care of yourself. And so making sure it's equal in terms of the that you put out, you should also be having some kind of consumption in that, meaning like making sure that you're taking care of your own diet. You know, have you been fed before you feed the world? Have you been nourished before you nourish the world? Have you been nurtured before you nurture the world? You know, have you had a day off? Are you living on just iced coffee or black coffee? You know, have you taken care of yourself recently? So I think that's going to be your biggest challenge that gets in the way for you, card pile 3, is you have such a big vision and such a big heart that you can forget about you. But of course, it all starts with you. So card pile 3, do let me know if this lands, resonates. Throw some characters down in the comments that connect for you for this personality type. I'd love to hear from you, since I totally could not really nail something down for this pile. Of course, like, subscribe, press the bell icon. I want to thank you for spending this reading with me today, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 3.